Just briefly, Minister, let's talk about this effort that is happening today, this humanitarian effort. What is the department's role?
Well, the department is very instrumental. Remember, this is about our work with multilateral institutions. Once the president consented to the staging of a humanitarian hub in South Africa, we were obligated from DIRCO to deepen collaboration with your World Food Program, with your World Health Organization. And that partnership, we find it today, is an expression of a more systematic and a deeper collaboration, where we are able to take the first 69 international relief and humanitarian workers out to the rest of Africa. And I think it's insightful, and all accolades should go to your public servants in DIRCO that have actually responded positively around this matter.
You touched on an important subject, the African continent, and as chair of the African Union, how significant is it for South Africa to ensure that they are at the forefront of such humanitarian aid?
Well, one of the priorities during our chairmanship of the African Union now in 2020 under President Ramaphosa, it imbues us to deepen collaboration between the African Union and the United Nations. And this deeper partnership that South Africa as a member state to the AU is conducting herself, I think it's quite exemplary, because what it says, our chairpersonship, we are providing what we call exemplary leadership. We walk the talk. When we do a commitment on making sure that humanitarian aids get elsewhere in Africa, we actually put our resources to the fore. So it's very much emotional, because it's also now July month in South Africa is Nelson Mandela month. It speaks to the ethos about voluntary services. It speaks about a humane and a pan-African solidarity. Because remember, what we have in the Central African Republic, where there are still challenges around peace and development, is not the same that we have in South Africa. The challenges in South Africa is no more about peace and conflict. It's more about the issues about unemployment, poverty and inequality. So I think this leadership that DIRCO has provided on behalf of South Africa should be well received, and much accolades must go to our public servants.
Speaking of challenges, Minister, how would you explain it to a South African citizen who's saying, well, we see our numbers increasing every day in South Africa, we have our own challenges. What benefit is it for South Africa? Why are we doing this as a country? What would you say?
Yes, the benefit is that this pandemic is transnational in character. So it does not affect South Africa in isolation to China. It doesn't affect South Africa in isolation to Mozambique, to Namibia, to Angola, to Ethiopia. The fact of the matter is that if we don't have a multiplier efforts to stem the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, it will mushroom in Africa, and South Africa will be a recipient of that type of mushrooming. So it contributes to stabilization of the COVID-19 pandemic in the entirety of the Africa. The fact of the matter is that the health minister, Dr. Mkhize, have given South Africa, he took South Africa under confidence that we are now in the peak of the season. We predicted it through our partnership with your National Institute of Communicable Diseases that the winter time is the peak season. We have put in place our medical infrastructure. We have given one message with different voices: wear your mask, keep social distancing, don't do social visitation. So what now? It's about the obligations, about the individual South Africa to play their role. At a certain time, government can do the policies, government can do the social security rollout and do the messaging. But the individual South African citizens have a serious obligation to make sure that they and their families don't get affected.
I can't let you go without talking about young people, which is partly your passion. What would you say to young people? We just got out of Youth Month, and it is, of course, Nelson Mandela Month. And he was a young person when he was at the forefront. What would you say should be the role of young people in South Africa, in Africa, in the fight against this pandemic?
I think the first role is that we have seen South Africa and Africa being quite adversely affected by any diseases. We have the COVID-19, we had the Ebola, we had the HIV and AIDS outbreak. But what came out very clear during the COVID-19 pandemic is the centrality of science and technology, especially about disease control, about disease prevention, etc. So one of our encouragement to our young people is to develop a passion for science and technology, coupled with mathematics. So our call from the Ministry of Dergo is that our young people should today even dedicate themselves more to accumulate more rich knowledge through academic and your TVET colleges, because what we don't want during or after this pandemic is to have more young people that becomes part of the unemployed masses of South Africa. And we are saying a important interlocutor to that reality is the question of education and training. So our young people should continue to find themselves within education institutions. They should continue to make sure that they upskill themselves. That is our message. And of course, build on the spirit of volunteerism. We want our young people, like all these 69 international humanitarian workers, they must play a role about to reconstruct and develop a better South Africa. So the question about working in your neighborhoods, helping the elders, helping your family to become better people, it's a key aspect for our young people. So I think our message is education and training that is complemented by a voluntary spirit.
Thank you so much for your time, Minister.
Thank you very much.